All right, so today we're talking wedges. We're talking bounce and grind options. No one really knows what bounce and grind is. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. So we're tapping in Brandon Wessel of Brandon Wessel Golf and Fitness to enlighten us about bounce, grind, turf conditions, how you swing it to try and find the best wedge for you. So without further ado, Wessel, tell us how we fix our wedge game.
Well, there's a lot of conversation about grinds. What grind should I play? What bounce should I? Am I a high bounce, a low bounce guy? Do I need a wedge with camber? Do I need toe relief, heel relief? It can be really confusing. The concept of bounce was created by Gene Saracen when he soldered on a bunch of metal to get out of bunkers. So the first place I always like people to go for a fitting or to test wedges out is in a bunker. That's where bounce and grind matter the most. So as you see marked on the bottom of this sole, I have some dotted lines here on this little line that you see on the bottom of the club. Then I have some lines coming off the toe, the middle of the club, and a little bit on the heel. So the first thing that was brought up is, what is bounce? Bounce is the difference between the leading edge and the trailing edge. You can see the leading edge is higher than the trailing edge is low. So there's an angle going this way. That's bounce. So more bounce would be this way, less bounce would be pretty flat across the bottom. Why do we need bounce? Bounce in a bunker in sand conditions keeps the club from digging. Bounce is important to keep the club from digging into the sand. So when we're in a bunker, a pop bunker, we have this back edge, that's the bounce. When we hit the sand, it keeps the club from digging into the sand. So bounce is our friend. You really want to start learning how to use your bounce for the bunkers. The different things that would qualify you for having high bounce or low bounce, let's start with high bounce. Generally speaking, if you play in soft conditions, you walk into the bunkers at your home course and it's like beach sand or quicksand, you feel like you're like kind of sinking into it. High bounce is normally needed to keep that club from digging and burying into that softer sand condition. If you play on a golf course where it's like powdered sugar on asphalt, rock hard, normally that's a lower bounce condition. We would want to gravitate to something that's a little flatter across the bottom. Next most important part, do you enter the sand close to the ball with a very steep or shallow? Or do you enter the sand 3-4 inches before the ball with a steep or shallow swing? And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you have to do one or the other, but it is going to make a dramatic effect on what bounce you truly need to get out of these bunkers easily. All right, so when you get into the sand, to really kind of test whether or not it's firm or soft or kind of medium, the best thing to do is actually just twist your feet in like you're going to take your chance to hit a shot. Now, if you twist in and you feel like you can keep twisting and you're going to sink like multiple inches, that's very soft, okay? Also, when you swing a wedge and you hit it, do you feel like there's like a floor underneath the sand, or is it just endless sand going down? If it seems endless, really soft. Conversely, very firm, you walk in and you go to twist your feet in and literally you feel like your spikes, nothing is going into the sand. And then there's everything in between. So it's not this like firm, soft. There's a pretty big range for that. It's more art than science. It's getting in. Hey, when I twist my feet, hey, there's a little sand moving up. That's why I would call this medium. It's a little bit wet. So identifying your environment's always the first thing when you're starting to talk about wedge fitting. All right, so we just talked about the sand conditions, soft versus firm conditions. Now we're gonna start talking about a little bit of the grinds when we're in soft sand, why we want a little bit more bounce, and when we're in firm sand, why in general we'd want less bounce. So let's start with the firm first. Right here is Bob Vokey's L grind, effective bounce of 4 degrees. And when you're in something really, really hard and firm, you don't want this trailing edge to be as far down or have as much bounce, because there isn't enough give in the sand. It's firm. If we had a high bounce wedge, this is the Bob Vokey 58K. It's 14 degrees of effective bounce, but you'll see, whoa, that is a lot of bounce going down. If this was rock hard with a little dust, you could see if I hit the sand before the ball, even just an inch, this is gonna bounce right off that hard lie, end up boning it into the lip or over the green. Now, if I get in that same situation, he effectively has 4 degrees of bounce, you can see, whoa, there's a lot less angle here, gives you the best opportunity of not bouncing this club into the golf ball. Okay, it gives us the best chance of hitting a solid shot. When you're in soft sand, however, here we go back to that K, let's say this is like the floor where it's rock hard and we have 6 inches of just the softest sand in the world. When this hits the sand, because of all this bounce, it throws the wedge up or kind of helps it glide through the sand instead of, if I was here, what does it look like the wedge wants to do? It just wants to kind of continue going down. When I grab the L grind here, has very little bounce. Once again, here's the floor. It hits the sand. Uh-oh. There's no bounce to help it go up. Tends to go down into the sand. We'll muff it out, maybe not get out of the bunker. So generally speaking, we haven't talked about technique, but generally speaking, that's why we want to have the lower bounce wedge in the firm condition, the higher bounce wedge in the very, very soft condition. What does the athlete bring to the table? How do they swing the club in the bunker will dictate as well, you know, what kind of bounce fits the best. If you want to make this easy for yourself, go see a PGA professional, someone that can help you with your bunker play to identify if you're steep or shallow. I have 2 balls on a line here. When you look after your bunker shot, you see like a deep gouger. Guess what? That's a steep. That's a big steep, okay? And by the way, steep can work. Steep can absolutely work. But you can be steep in a bunker, you can be shallow in a bunker. But you need to know which one you are. So if you get set up, this line is the ball. I get set. And I just see how there's 2 different colors of sand right there, even though it's wet. You can kind of see the kind of more khaki, and this has a little bit more gray to it. Man, I dug in layers there. That can totally work. But if we're steeper and you're in kind of medium to softer sand, most likely you're gonna have more success with a higher bounce wedge because it's gonna keep it from digging. Shallow. If I'm gonna be shallow, or if I'm trying to identify that, I draw this line. And did you hear how that was more of a slap versus the club driving through the sand? And if we look at this, boy, that's a lot shallower than this one, right? So this is more of a shallow. It's more of a brushing of the top of the sand versus going into the sand this way. I just want you to understand there's 2 ways to kind of get into the golf ball, a little bit steeper and a little bit shallower. And that's gonna also affect what kind of bounce you want on your wedges, the steep player. Right now in my hands, I'm gonna switch wedges. I'm gonna go all the way to the 58K. That's the highest bounce. Like I said, I find this sand to be about a medium firmness. And if I'm gonna be steep, here's my line that's even with the ball. And we're saying that I'm steep. We get up here, we hit down on it. Man, I hit down so hard, but look, it didn't dig. And I can tell you, I mean, I hit a bunch of wedges, so I understand the feel. You might not know the feel, but look at the depth. I know I felt the bounce going through the sand. Maybe you're aware of it, maybe you're not, but guess what? The sand won't lie. It'll tell you, did it go deep, which might mean we need more bounce, or did it shallow it out through the sand because of the bounce? So this is the L, it's 4 degrees of bounce, but I'm gonna be steep. In my opinion, this wouldn't be enough bounce for a steep player, correct? We'd want to go up higher. So I'm going to try to make the same swing I made over there. We're going to see if this digs a little bit. Okay, so now when you look at these, you can clearly see this is pretty darn deep. You know, if you work with a coach and they want you to chunk and run, that would be chunk and run. This right here is a nice skimming of the sand. Yeah. In my opinion as a coach, I like to see this thinner entry because it gives us a little bit more versatility of being able to hit different shots. Higher, stock, a little lower. This one right here, it's a chunk and run. That's what you got. It's not going to spin much. If your game is, I just want to get out and on, and I like to kind of hit a lot of sand and let it go up there, keep doing it. But if you want to kind of start getting more efficient contact with the sand, start playing around with higher bounce if you're steep. One thing we always want to make sure we understand clearly is our point of contact in the sand. We hear everything. Oh, hit 1.5 inches behind the ball, hit 4 inches behind, hit 2.5, hit 3. What I'm going to tell you is be consistent. So the best way to check that out while you're doing your steeps and shallows to learn about that, as you see, I just naturally draw a line in a bunker. Pretend that's the golf ball. And what you want to do while you're testing things is kind of go through, okay, that's where I hit the sand. Okay, great. Let's go up the line a little bit. Oh, guess what? It was about the same. Okay, let's go up here. There we go. Oh, it's about the same. So I hit the sand 3 times in a row, about the same. Some of you are going to put this line down. Oh, wow. Blade. Oh, wow, that's significantly different. All right. Boy, that's really thick. Oh, right on the line. 4 different shots. Don't worry about the bounce on your wedge. Go see your teaching pro. He's going to help you because that's the first thing. The environment doesn't matter. It's not repeatable enough to be concerned about your bounce. Get that dialed in first. I would clean up low point before I'd ever fit a wedge. But you can do this on your own. Grab some wedges, check them out. Come out here, draw a line. If you're the variable guy, you know, above the line, 6 inches before it, right on it, 2 inches before it. Work on controlling where you enter the sand or the low point. But do this line drill first. Save yourself buying new wedges because you might then work on your wedge game and then all of a sudden need different wedges, and guess what? Equipment's getting expensive. Now let's talk about the shallow guy. So that means that the club is kind of more skimming the sand. It's if I'm coming down the line, instead of down this way, which would be steep, it's kind of more around you coming into the ball, kind of slicing the top of the sand. Now you're in a position where lower bounce normally is your best friend. So you did your test, it came out kind of, when you made your impact with the sand, you weren't moving very much. I have a 58L, which is only 4 degrees bounce. You don't need a lot if it's coming around you. Go through your line drill. Boy, that got through really nice. Nice kind of skim of the ground. If, when you're doing that, it digs with the low bounce, kick up the bounce a little bit. You know, in a medium condition like we have here today, kick it up a little bit. Go to like an 8. You know, try different things. But if you get a nice splash like that, then start getting into golf balls. Look at where you hit the sand. Okay, that's pretty good low point. When I get a golf ball going, pretty darn good. And look at my sand interaction. Just kind of like peeling dollar bills. You know, that's an old school thought, but it should be thin interaction if you're a shallow player. Okay, so here's the highest bounce Vokey. If I flip them up this way, you can see this one looks like it just wants to glide across the ground, right? If I throw this one at you, look how much that heel, that trailing edge is down. If this gets caught in the sand too early and you have medium to firm conditions, you're drop kicking and hitting a blade across the green or into the lip. So here we go. You can kind of see as this moves, there's very little bounce. I put the high bouncer up there. We got a world of difference, right? So steeper guy, shallower guy.
Okay, so let's talk grinds here.
Yeah, I mean, the PGA Tour guys have always been grinding the soles of their wedges. So when we talk grind, we're talking about the sole of the wedge. So we have the T, the L, and the A grind. L is on WedgeWorks, A is on WedgeWorks, and the T is in the stock lineup. These are all low bounce wedges. If you found yourself to be a shallow player out of the bunker, you were hitting these low bounce wedges, beautiful off your medium to firm sand. Low bounce wedges, really great off those tight lies. If you're a steep angle of attack, you don't really need to listen to this all that much because you're gonna hit ball before turf. So much shaft lean because it's steep that if you look at the bounce wedge, it's negative, doesn't matter. However, I believe we hit a ton of different shots. I see a lot of great players, yeah, they hit the steep one. However, they also like to hit high ones, softer ones. They like to kind of make a putting stroke, a putt chip with the toe down. They have a lot of shots. Well, if you have a lot of shots, then you need to have a sole that's ground down. That's where they, instead of being straight across like this, you can see how there's a little crescent shape right here. There's some toe relief, trailing edge relief, and some heel relief. If you like to open the face, hit that little soft high one. You drop the hands down. Guess what? You're not going to throw the bounce number way up in the air. It's going to be a low bounce playing club. So if you play a variety of shots around the green, look for some toe, trailing edge, and heel relief. So we just started the conversation about grind. Toe relief, you see these straight lines I drew on here, trailing edge relief and heel relief, versus a wedge that's kind of more full, no grind to it, would be straight across. There's no crescent. See how there's a crescent here? There's even one on this wedge here. So I have the V grind, the T grind, and the K grind. This little grind right here, we'll talk about the crescent first, where there's trailing edge relief. The further back this little crescent is, the more effective bounce you have. The closer to the front, like this one here, very low bounce wedge, the lower the effective bounce. More bounce, little less bounce in playing positions. Now this one here has none. Is that okay? Absolutely. If you play a lot of square face shots, you don't like to open it and close it, you like everything kind of square, you don't need to have relief. That's perfectly fine. But this is where we start getting into player preference with performance. If we have toe, trailing edge, and heel relief, the reason why we would want that is if you're a person that plays shots hands low, maybe open the face, you're square again, maybe you do a little putt chip, maybe you like to put the shaft forward. If you like to manipulate the head, look for something with relief. If you don't, you play everything square. This K, if you're a high bounce guy, steep, is awesome. This is a great club out of a bunker, easy to chip and pitch with. If you're steep, it's got 14 degrees of bounce, but you don't care, you're steep. And then the other grind that's really good, actually two grinds, we have the S. S is for Stricker, by the way. It's got a little ribbon off the back, so if you play firm, tight conditions, but you're a little bit steep, you like things square face, you might want this little ribbon off. You know, give you a little less effective bounce when you're hitting your little shots. Or you can go something with more camber, little curvature, but there's really not much heel relief or toe relief. The reason you would want to go with camber, camber's kind of cool because it has bounce, but if you look, it doesn't change all that much if we kind of move it up in our stance or back in our stance. It doesn't really change the bounce all that much. So camber is pretty cool. That's in the K grind as well. So camber, you'll see this sole isn't straight, is it? Camber is this little curvature, okay? And when we have a cambered sole, it actually increases the bounce a little bit. Now, if you look at this one, it's what? See how it's just straight across? Here's camber. A great thing to add in to your fitting is to get some wedges with camber. This is the A+, it's from Wedgeworks. You won't see it in many fitting bags. Trust me, find someone who can fit them for you. You're just guessing if you're not hitting. I mean, these things are just parking.
I think I have a low bounce 60.
Okay, let's start there. So that's A with 4 bounce. So that doesn't have the heel and toe relief, has some camber, but built in it's low bounce.
Okay.
So this is gonna play as low as it gets. What's your first thought going through the sand? Other than you haven't hit a ball in a while.
Yeah, I got stuck on the heel.
Okay. Guess what? What if we had heel relief there? So if you keep feeling that, I'll give you a wedge with some heel relief.
That was good.
That sounded great. but you want to listen to how the club interacts with the sand.
Money there.
There you go. Let's go. It's still 4 bounce, but it's a different design now. Now we have some heel and toe relief.
That's
There you
it.
go.
Oh,
Like that. But look how thin that is. I mean, so I would definitely say the sand is telling us you're definitely more of a shallow player. But do you ever hit bunker shots like chunk and run where you go a little thicker?
Oh yeah. See the height?
Yeah, yeah.
So what?
And now you have some heel relief, so it's going a little faster through the sand, not getting caught.
I'm not. That's coming out so smooth.
I like that. Okay, so now let's do this to you. Even though we know you're a shallow, and I'm a big fan of this in any fitting, go the opposite end. Just confirm it. Just confirm that, hey, do I have an athlete here that can make anything work?
So this is a
That's
K.
a K. That's 14 degrees, no heel and toe relief. Did you feel that?
Yeah.
I heard it.
Yeah.
But did you feel it?
Crazy.
Yeah.
I like that other one.
Which one?
The
A?
Was it the A?
Or no, actually,
The second one.
you were using, I think, L.
The second one.
Yeah, so the L has heel, toe, and back ribbon relief. So you have that
I like
crescent.
that. Yeah.
If
'Cause
you
you gotta be able
eliminate
to-
the heel,
Yeah.
it'll go through. Sometimes if there's heel there, people feel like it kind of gets stuck.
I don't like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here, let's go back to L.
Yeah.
you go.
That's awesome.
Okay, this one's real similar to the L. That's the T. So it has heel, ribbon, and toe relief, or trailing edge relief. Here's L. That's 4 degrees of bounce. Here's T. Really different when you put them here, right? The crescent's closer to the leading edge here on the T instead of the L.
So this plays lower.
Effectively, yes.
Oh my
There you go.
goodness. That was so sick.